Today's grammar point is going to cover the character 和, and there are actually two tags that we use within the Mandarin Blueprint Method course to represent the character 和, and they are GW connector with /and 连词和根语, and also GW relator with /and 介词和, and that's because 和 can be used as both a connector, aka a conjunction, or as a relator, which is our much better word for the linguistic term preposition, because a preposition is always relating two things in some way and showing you how they relate. So a relator, which is actually the way the Chinese word works, 介词, that indicates relation word, is makes it clearer that this is the function that is happening with this particular character. So 和 is most often put forward as meaning and often when it is in the connector form, it does translate as and. So for example, in this sentence, 我和儿子上午过来吗? Shall my son and I come over in the morning? So in this case, it's me and son, 我和儿子. And so that's the subject of the sentence. The subject of the sentence is myself and my son, and then everything else is just what you and your son do. In this case, it's a question, but it's still, should we come over in the morning? Now, because the entire subject is made up of 我和儿子, this is a connector. It is not a relator in this case. It's just connecting the two ideas to create a larger subject. And that's fine. That's often the case, but you'll see that 和 gets used in the relator form probably a lot more often. So let's take a look at sentence 2. 我想要和一个美女在一起. I want to be with a beautiful woman. So usually textbooks are going to translate 和 as and, but in this sentence you can see that it's also possible to translate it as with. And it's a relator in this case. Why? Because the primary host does what guest structure, aka subject, verb, object, in this sentence is 我想要美女. Everything else is just modifying 美女, beautiful woman, right? So unsurprisingly, there's a bit more to the sentence than just I want a beautiful woman. So it's surrounding 美女 with 和一个 and 在一起. So what 和 is representing is the relationship between the subject's desires, 我想要, and the beautiful woman. So let's look at the sentence again. 我想要和一个美女在一起. So in this case, it's a relator because it's getting across that relationship between desires and the beautiful woman. Now let's take a look at another sentence with the relator usage. 我看见你能用中文和中国人聊天. I saw that you can talk to Chinese people in Chinese. So this sentence actually has multiple verbs and verb phrases. We've got 看见, we've got 能, we've got 用, and we've got 聊天. So regardless of this though, 和 is not in the context of either the subject or the object, the host or guest in any case. So the first phrase is 我看见你. Host 我 does what? 看见. Guest 你. Phrase 2, 你能用中文. Host 你 does what? 能用. Guest 中文. Phrase 3, 你聊天. Host 你 does what? 聊天. So in that case, there's no object. But the point is that in this case, 和 helps to modify 聊天. So it's relating 你 and 聊天 by saying who 你 is speaking with, which in this case is 中国人. So it's kind of fun with this type of sentence to break it down with the multiple verbs like this, so you can start to see how sentences build up. So the very most basic sentence here is 你聊天, you chat or you speak with. 你和中国人聊天, you speak with Chinese people. So in that case, we add in that with Chinese people to 聊天, and you can see how 和 is serving as the relator between you and chatting. Who are you chatting with? Well, you're chatting with 中国人. Let's keep going. 你用中文和中国人聊天. you use Chinese to speak with Chinese people, right? Add another layer. 你能用中文和中国人聊天. You are able to use Chinese to speak with Chinese people. And then finally, 我看见你能用中文和中国人聊天, which is the full sentence and ultimately comes to the conclusion that the purpose that they're trying to get across is that 我看见你, like I can see that you can use Chinese to speak to Chinese people. And so it's kind of fun to break down the sentences like that to see how in Chinese you can use lots of different verbs together. You can put many phrases together. And in this case, 和 ultimately gets across the relationship between you and who you were chatting with. Let's take a look at sentence 4. 很多人都等着和她拍照. There's a lot of people waiting to take a picture with her. So in this case, we know that 和 is a relator because its function is to show the relationship between taking pictures and who or what is having their photo taken. In this case, 她. So it could be a thing. It could be like a flower that you're taking a picture of. So as a final point, whether it's the connector or relator usage, you can replace 和 with 跟 or 与. So you can use 和 and 跟 interchangeably with one exception, which I'll talk about in a minute. But 与 is a far more formal context. You should use it in formal context. So we'll leave you with a couple examples showing this for this lesson. 我跟他是朋友. 我和他是朋友. Those two sentences are exactly the same, and they just mean he and I are friends. Here's another sentence. 人与动物的区别就是人能制造和使用劳动工具. The difference between humans and animals is that people can create and use tools for labor. And so naturally, that final sentence is the kind of sentence you might see in a textbook, so it's not surprising that you would use 与 in that case. So just before we finish up, let's talk about that one exception I mentioned between 跟 and 和. So we mentioned above that 跟 and 和 can be interchangeably used, but the one exception is if you're making a command, because 跟 also carries the meaning of follow. And if you just want to directly tell somebody, follow me, then you will not use 和. So for example, 跟我走, 跟我走. That's just a direct sort of command, follow me. It doesn't necessarily have to be rude, but that's what that would mean. It would mean just follow me. So in that sentence, 和 would not be correct because there's no sense of follow inherent to the character. However, if you add 一起, then you could say 和. So for example, you could say 和我一起走. Come with me. And so like come with me together. 一起 means together, right? So 跟我一起走, 和我一起走. Both are fine. So remember to search for the tags GW connector with and 连词和跟与 or GW relator with / and 介词和 in your flashcard software, assuming you're in the Mandarin Blueprint method, and you'll be able to see all the sentences that use this particular these two particular tags and how to use 和 properly. 谢谢你观看我们的这个视频. If you found this video valuable and you'd like us to help you reach fluency and literacy in Mandarin Chinese as fast as possible without all the headache of traditional learning methods, just head to mandarinblueprint.com to learn more. Also, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the bell below to be notified every time we release a new video. And of course, 保重.